Hey everybody, welcome back to another JewbsterBuilds tutorial. Sorry it's been so long since I last uploaded a video. I did see all you guys' comments on the last one and the feedback couldn't have been more awesome, so thank you. In the last one we did staggering round wire, so in this video we'll talk about staggering ribbon. This technique is definitely a little bit more difficult than the last one. I don't expect everyone to get it first try. It takes a lot of practice and like me you'll probably waste a lot of wire. So without further ado, let's get into the supply list and I will show you the build. I'll come back out here, I'll vape on it, and I'll talk about the build a little bit more. So I'll see you guys soon. So like always, I'll get into the supplies you'll need for this build. To start off, which is probably the most important, you'll need 2 spools of your wrap wire. In my case, I have 40 gauge Nyprom 80 from Kidney Puncher. This is probably the easiest wire to dual spool for me. 38 gauge seems to be a bit stiff, and anything lower than 40 gauge you'll tend to need to hold your breath while fusing. Only because of the wire size being so small that there is a smaller margin for error. The next thing you'll need is some ribbon wire. In this video I'll be using some 0.3 Canthal ribbon wire. Next, and it's not necessary but it helps, is some scrap wire. This will be used to bind all of your ribbon together. Another thing I've seen people use and that I've started to use as well is hot glue. The purpose of hot glue once again is to secure your wires together. Like always, you'll need some flush cuts to trim and clip your wires as needed, some pliers to manipulate, flatten, and bend your wires, scissors. Now these are used to cut your ribbon wire to length. I use scissors because it seems to get a cleaner cut, at least for ribbon wire. A jeweler's loop or a magnifying lens to inspect your wire after fusing, before and after completion. Ceramic tweezers. Although I tend not to use these during the actual building process, you'll need to use them when you install your coils, pinching them to get the hot spots out. A coil jig or small screwdriver. You'll need it to wrap your coils on. This is also used to manipulate the coils into shape after installing them. And then finally, as far as small tools and materials go, an atomizer to install your coils on. In this video I'm using the new DotRDA 24 from Dotmod. It has spring-loaded clamp style posts and a large thumb screw on the top to make installing coils simple and easy. It also comes with its own flathead tool for said thumb screw, which is absolutely gorgeous and I love using it. I understand some of you may not have this RDA, so in that case you'll need an Allen key the size of your screws that your RDA has, and a flathead or Phillips screwdriver. To pulse my coils today, I'll be using the 200 watt Dotbox from Dotmod as well. It can fire all the way down to 0.05 ohms, which is awesome because it's essential for these builds. They seem to read really low until you get all the hot spots out. Next I have my swivel setup. These are used to spin the wire without any resistance, well, as much resistance as the ball bearings can handle. And I have it secured down with my vise, but I put 3 swivels in line with a hook at the end to loop my wire around. And lastly, of course, I have my 2 drills here. The first one that spins slowly for more complicated builds, and the second one that spins fast at 3000 RPM. This is what I'll be using today to spin the wire. So we'll start out by grabbing your spool of ribbon wire. We'll unspool 3 18-inch lengths of wire, cutting each end with a pair of scissors. The awesome thing about Kidney Puncher ribbon is that it unspools flat, so I don't have to stretch the wire. If you don't use KP wire, you may need to stretch it before cutting it, but you'll definitely want it to be straight before you start working with it. Now that you have those 3 pieces of ribbon, you're going to want to grab it from the middle, because we're going to be mounting this on a swivel. Next step will be to start rolling your fingertips with the wire secured. This helps the wire lay flat against each other in a stack. It can be tough, and I know a lot of people who lick their fingers or use a bit of water to get it aligned, but I haven't had any luck with that method. Once you have it stacked, you'll want to either thread it through or lay the stack in your hook and bend it over onto itself. A trick I've learned is to hold the ribbon stack with my left thumb and index finger, pull the wire over with my other hand, and kind of wedge it back into my pressed fingers, never letting go of how much tension I have on the wires. Then I pinch the ends as close as I can to the hook with my fingernails to ensure the 2 sides of the ribbon stacks combine. Next, you can take the looped wire off the hook and keep the pressure on the stack so it doesn't get put out of alignment. Next step will be to bind all of those pieces of ribbon together with a scrap piece of wire. Make sure to wrap tight as you don't want any wires to move while you build. Flatten your bound wires and keep everything on the same plane. Now you can remount your ribbon to the hook and begin running your fingers down the length of the stack. This is where people tend to have the most trouble. I use 2 fingers with a great amount of tension to run down the wire. This will ensure your ribbons never overlap or collapse. Be careful and watch your wires so that while you run your fingers down them, they are staying vertical and parallel to each other. Once again, bind your ends with a piece of scrap wire, all the while keeping tension on your stack. Flatten it, clip the excess and the uneven ends. You can now secure everything into the chuck of your drill, making sure that when you tighten it down, it's all centered, as this will make your life way easier. I'll briefly explain the hot glue method. You'll basically heat up the hot glue on the edge, tap your bound ribbon stack, and make a bead of hot glue on your wire. Wait for it to dry. Then insert your stack with the hot glue into your drill, once again making sure that it is centered. What I do to start off any ribbon-based build is to wrap about a ½ inch of scrap wire onto the stack. This will doubly ensure that everything is laying flat. You can insert the wires into the side of the chuck and start spinning the drill, and it'll start wrapping your wire onto the cores. Once you get them started, you'll want to have them feeding onto the ribbon parallel to each other and as close as they can get. You can use your fingernail or ceramic tweezers to push them towards the chuck if that helps you. This is a clip from my previous video, but I figured it would help you guys see the parallel clapton method. So here's the real trick with this method. You may have tried dual spooling before and either had success or failure. But what I've found that helps tremendously is to use my index finger as a rail to guide the wire evenly and perfectly perpendicular onto the ribbon stack, as well as having it as a point of tension. My fingers holding onto the spools are basically floating, letting the spools just glide right through. I try to go one consistent speed throughout this whole fusing process, being careful and watching what I'm doing. If you start and stop using this method, you will get uneven results and ultimately mess up the build that you've been trying so hard for and spending so much time and patience on. At the end of your fusing, you'll want to clip both ends of the wires off of the spools, then take the wire closest to the chuck and hold onto it. You'll then reverse the drill while removing one of your wrap wires at the same angle that you fused it on. It may take you a few pulls to get all the wire off, but don't rush. Be careful taking that wire off. It's ultimately giving you the perfect spacing that you want. Doing this will leave you with a perfectly spaced staggered ribbon, which in turn you can combine into a variety of builds. So with this stick of wire, I remounted it onto my drill on swivel, added a piece of 29 gauge on each side, then fused another piece of 40 gauge through those gaps to create a staple staggerton, which is just one of the many builds you can create with it. Here's how I coil up the wire. I start by having it behind the coil jig at a slight angle. I fold the wire over 1/2 wrap and let go. I reach under with my thumb, grabbing the smaller end with my thumbnail, pulling it up and over to make the full wrap. Then my index finger goes on top. I'll keep my index finger there the whole time, keeping tension on the wire to keep everything even. Each time I fold the wire over the jig, I alternate my index finger and thumb to keep the wire folded. Lastly, after you finish your wraps, you'll need to let go of the tension, which is scary, I know, but doing so will produce a sound that may hurt your ears. I cringe every time I hear this. Repeat this process for the second coil as well. I ended up adding an extra wrap to these and left the legs coming off the coils on top and bottom, also that they'd fit a bit better in the DotRDA. For most clamp style addies, I butt up the flush cuts to the edge of my coil jig and cut the legs there. That's usually the right length. I'm super picky about my builds and how they sit in the Addy, so I end up messing with them more than anyone probably should. Gotta make them look good for pictures, you know? So I start low when I pulse my coils, usually around 15 watts to start. In between each pulse, I try to jiggle the hot spots out, making sure there aren't any shorts causing the coil to malfunction. Pinching the coils does the same effect, only if you're using ceramic tweezers can you touch the coils when you're pulsing it. Bring the wattage up in small increments and repeat the process, and retighten your screws if needed. The resistance of the coils will rise as you're pulsing them, so don't worry if they start off below 0.1. Just keep glowing your coils until they glow from the middle outward without any hot spots, and you'll be ready to wick. So I chose Kendo Vape Cotton for this build. When you thread your cotton through your build, you want to be able to pull it through with a small amount of resistance, but not too much to where it pulls your coil and moves it. Then cut your cottontails a little bit over the edge of the deck so you can tuck it down into the juice well. For the past few weeks I've been vaping on Popstick from Elysian Labs. It's like the perfect vape for me. Pineapple has got that tartness that I love, and it's just got me stuck. So that was the build. I hope you guys were able to follow along. It is a little bit of a tedious process. I'm sorry if I sounded a bit robotic. It's just the only way I can explain it with being efficient. So I got the builds here sitting on the Dotbox DotRDA 24. Came in at a 0.16 and I'm vaping it at 80 watts. So I'll just show you the vapor production off of it. It's It's pretty good. I used to vape these all the time. I used to build them, but I've kind of strayed away from it. But I got a lot of suggestions, so I went ahead and did a build on it. Like I said before, vaping on Popstick from Elysian Labs, it's an awesome vape. Pineapple cherry popsicle, so I love the way it tastes. It's got that really tart taste with the sweetness of the cherries. It's just really good, especially in this Arizona heat. Like, it's such a cool vape. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think. If you have any other suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, share it. It'll make me want to make another video for you guys. I do enjoy making these. It just takes a while to edit them, just to get all the shots in close and the far away shots, time lapses, you know. But yeah, see you guys next time, alright?